Rapper Fetty Wap expected to spend at least 5 years in prison after pleading guilty to a conspiracy drug charge.
No, it looks like Fetty Wap's career is officially over, at least for now. If you guys don't know what's going on, Fetty Wap yesterday actually pled guilty in court to some drug trafficking charges he was facing. Let's just say that Fetty Wap will be behind bars for the next 5 years. Let's talk about it. Now, Fetty Wap in 2015 was a different kind of animal. Do you guys remember how Fetty Wap back then was literally on top of the world? Trap Queen in 679 had Fetty on a different kind of high. Even though I like to rejoice in those days by reminiscing about him, it's kind of sad how that's where his days of being on top ended. Fetty after that was never really the same, unfortunately. I've talked about the whole topic in relation to his fall off on multiple other occasions, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. What we will talk about though is some of the legal issues Fetty Wap has been battling. You might remember this story since I covered it when it happened, but back in October of last year, specifically on the 28th, Fetty Wap got picked up by the FBI and was accused of being a part of a drug trafficking ring. According to prosecutors, at the time they stated and claimed that Fetty was a kilogram level redistributor in this drug trafficking ring. They also stated that this organization that he was a part of had moved more than 100 kilograms of cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and crack. These drugs were apparently being moved all the way from the West Coast to Long Island in New York. 5 people alongside Fetty were arrested. One of those 5 people happened to be a New Jersey correction officer. This right here is a statement that was made back then by an attorney who was involved in his case. This is what it said. As alleged, the defendants transported, distributed, and sold more than 100 kilograms of deadly and addictive drugs, including heroin and fentanyl on Long Island, deliberately contributing to the opioid epidemic that has devastated our communities and taken too many lives. A district attorney who also was and is involved in this case said the following. The pipeline of drugs in this investigation ran thousands of miles from the West Coast to the communities here in our area, contributing to the addiction and overdose epidemic we have seen time and time again tear people's lives apart. The fact that we arrested a chart-topping rap artist and corrections officer as a part of the conspiracy illustrates just how vile the drug trade has become. Fetty Wap and his guys were apparently running this entire operation in Suffolk County, New York. That's where their alleged home base was located. It was being claimed by the authorities that they pumped massive amounts of narcotics into the community. According to this very thorough investigation law enforcement made, it was also stated that Fetty and his guys were using cutting agents in the drugs they were selling. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, a cutting agent is a diluent, okay, so a substance that's supposed to dilute another product. Using a cutting agent is common practice among street dealers, and they do that in order to essentially stretch their own product by mixing it with some other substance so they can collect a bigger profit. During a search warrant that was conducted shortly after Fetty Wap got arrested, the police recovered over $1.5 million in cash, 16 kilograms of cocaine, 2 kilograms of heroin, a whole lot of fentanyl pills, 2 9mm handguns, a rifle, a .45 caliber pistol, and a little bit of ammunition. By the way, the 100 kilograms of drugs they were claiming Fetty and his guys were pushing, according to this indictment, they allegedly sold all that in the span of 1 year. So between June 2019 and June 2020, they allegedly managed to push over 100 keys of drugs. Not 10, not 20, not 50, we're talking a hundo. So they were most definitely pushing P, aka pushing the packs. Exactly how they managed to run this operation? Well, according to the indictment, Fetty and his organization got the drugs from the West Coast, and then what they did was they transported those drugs all the way back to their home base in Suffolk County with the help of drivers and with the help of the United States Postal Service. So after the product arrived to Suffolk County, it was then stored there, and then after that it was distributed to different dealers who sold the drugs in Long Island and in New Jersey. On Monday, the 22nd of August, Fetty Wap was in court for this case, and he ended up pleading guilty. So what happened is Fetty pled guilty to 1 count of intent to distribute controlled substances. Those substances include cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl. So just to clarify, he pled guilty to this 1 count and not all the other charges he was facing. Fetty Wap, as of right now, faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years in prison. So that means that there's absolutely no chance in hell that he'll be getting less than 5 years in prison unless he breaks out of that bitch on some prison break Michael Scofield type of time, which that's not going to happen because Michael Scofield was a different kind of beast. Prison Break Season 1, definitely a classic, but I digress. According to XXL, who got a hold of the actual documents, it's estimated that Fetty will be serving between 87 and 108 months behind bars. 87 months equals to over 7 years in prison, so that's what Fetty Wap will most likely be serving considering the circumstances. As crazy as it sounds, by the way, I consider Fetty lucky because if you guys don't know, the mandatory minimum sentence for someone who's convicted of selling 28 grams of crack cocaine, that right there is a mandatory 5-year prison sentence without parole. So since it's mandatory, you're gonna have to serve that time no matter what. By the way, mandatory prison sentences are pretty controversial since they don't offer a lot of flexibility to the defendants. It's essentially already been predefined what you're gonna serve if you commit certain crimes, no matter what your circumstances are. So even if you've been a good boy and you don't have a criminal record, you get caught with 28 grams of crack cocaine, you're gonna do those 5 mandatory years, no ifs and or buts. Yes, there are cases where a judge can have enough leeway to reduce a mandatory minimum sentence. That is an exception in most cases though, and not the rule. Just wanted to give a little context behind that since this is an important aspect of Fetty Wap's case. But like I said earlier though, man, Fetty is pretty damn lucky, as crazy as that might sound. I mean, at the end of the day, he was being accused of being a part of an organization that pushed over 100 keys of illicit substances in Suffolk County with this organization. In this Fetty Wap case, I'm sure he saw this guilty plea as his only option, because if he pled not guilty and it went to trial, let's just say that Fetty Wap would have probably gotten TK numbers thrown at him. Fetty in that situation, like TK, would have not seen the light of day until, I believe, 2047. That's when TK's eligible for parole. That's obviously not counting the second case TK's up against, where he's the alleged triggerman. So if he's convicted of that, TK might be out just in time for the 2095 edition of the XXL cover. I digress though. For Fetty Wap, he's gonna be serving the next at least 5 years in prison. I guess the moral of the story is just be a law-abiding citizen and don't do stupid things that's gonna get you caught up like this. At this point, man, just let me put it bluntly, I really don't have any sympathy for millionaires who get caught up in street shit. We've seen this too many times in the culture and we keep on seeing it constantly. I don't know what prompted Fetty Wap to get involved in any of this, but that decision is now gonna cost him the next 5 years of his life. But yeah, Fetty Wap. Sad to see Fetty going out like this, but what can I say? There's repercussions to your actions, and Fetty Wap is gonna have to pay the price. Any thoughts on this entire situation? Fetty Wap has officially pled guilty to a federal drug charge in the drug trafficking ring indictment he was facing. What do you guys think about how this all played out for Fetty? By the way, since some of you might know, I took a little break to focus on some personal things. I'll be playing catch up for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if there's any topics you want me to cover, just let me know by dropping a comment or send me a message on IG or something. A couple I'm working on as we speak: the game's beef with Eminem, the murder of Jada Youngin, may his soul rest in peace. I'll definitely be talking about the Quando Rondo incident as well. Aside from that, anything you want me to talk about, just let me know. That aside, this Fetty Wap situation, any thoughts? Definitely let me know in the comment section below. Like this video, like this video, like this video, like this video. Let's talk about this.